Redfield told a congressional hearing earlier Wednesday a vaccine probably wouldn't be available until the middle of next year, which contradicts what the president's been saying. Trump said Redfield misunderstood the question and was confused. Trump has insisted a vaccine would be ready very soon and distributed to the public shortly after. Redfield has not commented on whether or not he was confused. Alabama and Florida are starting to clean up after Hurricane Sally. The former Category 2 hurricane is now a tropical depression and continues to dump heavy rain over the southeast. The storm left a trail of destruction in Florida and Alabama, where it made landfall early Wednesday morning. The National Hurricane Center is keeping an eye on a low-pressure system over the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. Forecasters say there's a 70% chance that system could become a tropical depression by the end of the week. Senator Mitt Romney is criticizing the Senate Homeland Security Committee for their probe into Joe Biden and his son's dealings in Ukraine. Mike Bauer reports.
There's no question but that the appearance of looking into Burisma and Hunter Biden appears political.
Romney added, I do believe it's very important that the committees of Congress, and ours in particular, not fall into an increasing pattern that we're seeing, which is using taxpayer dollars and the power of Congress to do political work. That's the role of the campaigns. The Utah senator added that he
would hope that if there's something of significance that needs to be evaluated, that it would be done by perhaps the FBI or some other agency.
Other Republican senators, including Richard Burr of North Carolina and Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, have expressed concerns about taking what could be Russian disinformation sent through Ukrainians and using it as the basis for a probe.
Michael Kastner, NBC News Radio.
Good morning, and welcome to Coffee Ann, the longest-running panel discussion show in American radio. To make a comment or ask a question of the panel, call 401-766-1240 or email coffee@woonsocket.radio.com. And now, let's join the Coffee Ann panel.
Let's do that. It is Coffee Ann time on ON, AM, and FM. This is Joe Callahan. I have lost my piece of paper. Where is my...
Is that the one with your name on it?
No, not that one. Not that one. This one, here it is. No, I'm all set now. Thanks for helping me, Bob.
I was just thinking when you said you lost something, I thought it was going to be your mind. But piece of paper is far easier to find.
The old joke is I lost that a long time ago. That's Bob Lauder. Good morning to you, Bob.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
Nice to have you with us. And also joining us on the phone, who has also not lost his mind, Gary Izoski, Town Administrator from the town of North Smithfield. Good morning, Gary.
Good morning, Joe. How is everybody?
We're doing okay. Now, if you hear a lot of banging, a lot of bangs in the background today, nothing to worry about. They're just doing some small road construction. You know all about road construction in North Smithfield, right, Gary?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, well, they're doing it here on Park Avenue directly in front of the building. And I mean directly. And they brought out the backhoe, and they are tearing up the road, tearing up Park Ave. So if you're coming up Park Avenue, you are going to hit a delay in any direction. So it's just something to be aware of on this Thursday morning. Okay.
Very good.
Sounds good.
All right. Now, Bob, before we get to Gary, Bob, you got to put your lawyer hat on for today. So here we go. Now we had this story yesterday.
Question.
What's that?
Where do you research these questions?
They come out of the news, Bob. They come out of the news, and we say, let's ask Bob Lauder this question. All right, here we go. So the story from yesterday came out of Westerly, Rhode Island. A pizza delivery man for Domino's has been charged with drunk driving. While he was on the job delivering pizzas, he crashed into two cars. Now, nobody got hurt. That's important to know. But significant damage to the two cars. He also was an uninsured driver. Now, the question goes, if you're the owner of one of the cars that got hit, you're probably going to go after this driver, although I don't know how much you can get from an uninsured driver. But let's say the Domino's is owned by a franchisee and is not a company-wide store, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Can you go after the franchisee owner of the Domino's because they employed an uninsured driver?
I would imagine you could go after them, not necessarily because they employed an uninsured driver, but because the individual was acting in their capacity as an employee of Domino's, and therefore Domino's may be liable for the negligence of the employee.
Okay, so there's definitely, you think there's definitely a lawsuit that's possible.
I think there's a viable claim that any of the owners of those vehicles would have, not only against the driver, but also against Domino's, because they were the employees of the driver at the time.
Now, if
they also would have their own uninsured motorist coverage.
Well, that'll cover that, sure. Now, could you go after Domino's corporate for something like this, or would it just be like the franchisee?
I would think that going after the corporate would be more difficult to prove a relationship between the employee and the corporate entity.
Okay.
Because if I understand the franchisees correctly, they buy a right to use the corporate name and to use the products that are provided by the corporation.
Yeah, basically, yes.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I would not think you'd be very successful in a claim against the corporation, but against the franchisee, I think there is a viable claim. Yeah.
Okay. Now, is there negligence on the franchisee owner because they are employing an uninsured motorist? And if you look around anywhere that's hiring drivers, one of the first things they say is you got to have a license and you got to have insurance.
I think the liability goes more along the lines of their having an employee who was drunk.
Okay.
And they should have been aware of his physical condition at the time that he was picking up the product to take out to the various delivery sites, and they allowed him to do so in that condition. That, I think, would be their major area of liability. The fact that they allowed him to operate without having insurance, I think that's a lesser of the ideas.
Okay, so more the problem that he was allegedly drunk is more of a concern.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good answers, Bob.
Whoa.
Do you like his answers, Gary?
Outstanding, as usual.
Oh, wow. Gary, thank you. Wow, man.
Outstanding. So there you go.
I'm serious, actually. I think you do a very good job with Joe's surprise questions every time.
Yes, I don't give him these questions ahead of time, Gary.
No, I realize that. And you also never ask me questions about politics, but, hey.
Well, I already know. I know where you stand. There's no reason to ask you. I already know what the answer is. This one, I wasn't quite sure what the answer was going to be, so that's why we asked you for your insightful comments from the law side.
Thank you.
All right, let me ask you another question then, Bob. This is basically your opinion. Did you ever see the movie Philadelphia with Tom Hanks and Denzel Washington?
Years ago, yes.
Yeah. Did you enjoy it?
Yes.
Okay. How come? And maybe you can't answer this, but we watch different TV shows and we watch different movies. Is it a state thing where, in some cases, the lawyers stand up to question the defendant and possibly the plaintiff? In that movie, all the questioning was done from a table. Now, is it depending on which state you're in, or is it the judge that decides where do lawyers ask their questions from?
I don't recall the movie trial scene. I don't know if they were taking a deposition, and depositions where you don't have a judge present, you're not usually in the courtroom, but probably in a lawyer's office having the testimony taken down by...
No, this scene took place in a courtroom, so it was no deposition.
Well, the only two states I'm familiar with ever having practiced in is here and in Virginia, and in both of those states, when you address the court in any manner, you usually stand up.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with any court that has the attorneys just sitting at the tables and not standing.
Okay. Well, maybe it's just Hollywood.
It could be.
Let's do it this way for, I don't know, whatever reason.
Or maybe the Philadelphia story was supposed to be taking place in Pennsylvania, right?
Well, that's right. Yeah. And the two lawyers, when they wanted to stand up, they actually asked the judge, is it okay to approach the bench or approach the witness? And they had to be given permission.
Okay, that would be normal.
Okay.
That would be, if you're approaching the bench, it's usually to ask the judge something that is of a more confidential nature than would be placed in front of the jurors. And when you're talking to questioning a defendant or any witness, the closer you are to the individual, it's sometimes perceived by the witness as being more intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
So to approach a witness, you usually have to ask the judge for permission to do that, whether you're standing or sitting.
Okay. You ever see it where the judge, where a lawyer asks for permission to approach the bench and the judge says no?
Yes.
Really? Okay. Well, do they give a reason, or they just say, no, you can't?
The judge may have made a ruling on a particular motion, and the attorney wants to approach the bench with the other attorney to maybe try and have a further argument on that motion more confidentially.
Mm-hmm.
And the judge is basically saying, hey, I've made my decision. That's it.
Move on, basically.
Move
right?
on.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So Gary, still with us?
Here.
All right. How did the first couple of days of school go in North Smithfield?
Or
what did you hear?
I don't
Gary's
have
too old to be attending school.
I don't have a lot of input for you on that this morning beyond what I have read and seen online. And I did speak with the superintendent last week on a couple of occasions. I'll communicate with him, emails and one phone call. The feeling that I had was that they were ready. Some things that we collectively had done early in the summer or late spring as it related to decision making on how to use the remainder of our bond funds for the school projects resulted in the actions to upgrade or assess and upgrade some of our HVAC systems long before I think others were thinking about it, and that was just, it wasn't, I don't want to say it was great planning on our part. It was simply, I think it was circumstantial that became good fortune. So what I learned was, the inspections that were done, or reviews, walkthroughs, whatever they were called by RIDE, the Department of Education, found that our schools were in just great shape, and in fact, were a model to the rest of the state. So I think the superintendent and his team did a great job to get the schools ready, and parents have made decisions on what to do with their students. Some going back, insisting that they go back full time or in person, and others on distance learning. I'm proud of the way that they've worked through this, and on all levels to try to make sense of a very confusing circumstance. I think they've done well.
And the governor's pretty happy overall with the entire state. Going back to school, she says everything went, to quote her, just excellent for the first couple of days. So, so congratulations to all the school departments that are working under these trying conditions. So, and congrats to North Smithfield as well.
Okay. Well said. It's just it's a trying time. We've all got to get through it and do the best we can. I've watched some students get on buses. I've watched as they I live on a relatively busy street and see some of the activity. I see students in cars being driven to school. I see students getting on the bus. It's people making decisions that they think are in the best interest of themselves and their kids, and I admire them for it.
Okay, Bob, let's throw another legal question towards you on this one. When people make out their last will and testaments, okay, and sometimes they'll leave all their money and worldly possessions, and sometimes they leave it to a person that's not in the family, okay?
Yeah.
And then when the person passes away, and that's when the family realizes that all their assets are going to this person that's not in the family, and then the family will sometimes contest the will.
Right.
But if you have a legal document saying all the assets go to this person, what are they contesting?
They'd be contesting on several grounds. They'd be contesting on whether or not the testator, that's the person who created the will, was aware of their existence. For example, you could have a situation where a child was thought to have died at sea and really was living in a foreign country, and so the father said, well, I'm not leaving anything to John because he's dead. Mm-hmm. And John comes out of the woodwork and says, no, I'm not dead. I'm really here. And Dad didn't know about me, and therefore he didn't correctly make his will. He didn't make decisions based on all the facts. You could have a situation arise where the heirs at law was saying, well, the individual who was making the will was under undue influence. His caregiver had great control over him, and his caregiver is now the one who's the beneficiary, and we're all cut out of the will, and that's because the caregiver was using undue influence on Dad to make the will. Another one could be where you have a situation that an individual doesn't know what he has. You have a person who's very hermit-like, lives under a bridge, doesn't seem to have anything, and yet really has $1 million in the bank, and doesn't make adequate preparations for that. And the heirs could be saying, well, he didn't know what he was doing. And then, of course, there's always the classic that the will is forged. And although that doesn't sound like it happens very often, in the practice that I've had, I've actually experienced
a forged will?
Forged will.
Wow.
Which is pretty surprising.
Yeah. In the case where, let's say, okay, it's the caregiver, the person is not of their sound mind, but and then the caregiver gets all the assets, wouldn't the lawyer that makes out the will notice that the person really isn't well and that the caregiver is manipulating this person?
Depending on how carefully it's done, yes. When the lawyer prepares the will, he certainly meets with the testator and tries to make a determination as to whether or not the person is of sound mind, knows what they're doing, and is acting freely. And the witnesses to the will are going to be also testifying that the individual was of sound mind and acting freely in creating the document. But if the caregiver has been very heavy-handed and has over the years managed to sway the mind of the testator, that may not necessarily be completely apparent.
Okay. Good answers, Bob. Good answers.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to take a break here in the Coffee and program. Comments and questions can be called in 766-1240 or email them in to coffee@OneSocketRadio.com. More coming your way. Stay tuned. We talk a lot about the great classes you can take at the Honey Shop, but one of the other things that takes place at the Honey Shop at their Winthrop Street location in Woonsocket is all the great specialty desserts that are available. Now that we're moving into the fall season, they have pumpkin cheesecake, carrot cake, and maple cinnamon whoopie pies. Now this is important to remember. The desserts are gluten-free, they're sugar-free, and diabetic-friendly. They're also low in carbohydrates, and if you're on the keto diet, they're keto diet compliant. But the most important thing about the pumpkin cheesecake, the carrot cake, and the maple cinnamon whoopie pies, they're absolutely delectable and delicious. So order yours today at the Honey Shop, 6 Winthrop Street, Woonsocket.
Hey folks, Chan's Restaurant is serving their delectable dishes via their easy takeout window off Clinton Street and in their comfortable dining room and cozy lounge. In fact, Chan's has WRIK karaoke every Friday and Saturday nights in the lounge now from 9 to midnight. Be sure to bring your masks to wear when you're not seated at your table when you return to Chan's Fine Oriental Dining, 267 Main Street in Woonsocket.
The Coffee and Panel is enjoying coffee from Down East Coffee in Pawtucket. They're a 62-year-old family business that roasts all its coffee right here in Rhode Island. Founded originally as Excellent Coffee Company, they provide great coffee to food service establishments throughout New England.
ON Radio.
It is Coffee and on ON, and this is Joe Callahan here with Bob Lotter and Town Administrator from North Smithfield, Gary Izoski. So you want to hear something amusing, Gary?
Of course.
All right. I'm talking with Dave Richards on the phone this morning as I'm driving in, and he's telling me about the construction that we're going to have here on Park Avenue. And he says you may not want to get off at Park Square and come down Park Ave. You may want to just go into North Smithfield and come in on Providence Street. And then he goes, here's a better suggestion. Stay on 146 and get off at exit 11. And I said, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. So that's what I did. I stayed on 146 as I was coming off. Well, as you know, Gary, exit 11 is closed.
Is that Greenville Road?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Does that say anything about Dave's regard for you as an employee, that he didn't want you coming in?
I don't think so. You'll have to ask Dave that.
Okay.
So there was no issues. I mean, I just went up to the next exit, Pound Hill Road, and just came in that way. But I was chuckling to myself the entire way. Thanks for the info, Dave. He sent me to a closed exit.
Right on top of things, huh?
Yeah, that's right. But then I have to take some of the blame myself, because the DOT's got their message boards right out on Route 146. They're right at Sales Hill Road, telling me exit 11 is closed. Did I pay attention? No. I just ignored the whole thing.
So you might not want to discuss this with Dave then, I guess.
No, we had a good laugh about it earlier, so everything is just fine. So we got the news story. It's in the call today. The Route 104 at the Route 146 overpass is going to close this Friday at 7 p.m. and stay closed until Saturday morning at 7. So for a good 12 hours. You think that's all the time they'll need to replace this bridge piece or the installation of these new beams?
Well, I actually don't know what it is in the way of a construction element that they're working on, but it's another short-term closure that, fortunately, the history with that project has been that they have completed each of their work elements within the time, and actually often had shorter detours or inconvenience to the motorists. So, it is what it is. This one's going to go on for a while.
Yep.
Got a lot of work to do there.
And it's it's a shame that right where this is taking place is that man was killed in that car accident in that general area.
I've looked at that and can't figure out how that happened, but it's obviously it's sad. Just someone went to work that day and didn't get home. It's awful. Just
went down the dirt road that was reserved for construction work and just kept going and it became airborne. So that's a shame there. Now the other big news for road construction in North Smithfield, Gary, is the plan that you've wanted for a long time, or at least you wanted some kind of plan, to go at Sales Hill Road. And it looks like the project is going to move forward. It's going to take quite a while, a number of years, I would say. But the plan is to take the lights out at Route 146 and Sales Hill Road and have some kind of bridge go in over there. Do I have that correct?
Well, I don't know that there won't be some signalization below the bridge, but yes, there'll be a bridge for the through traffic on 146 north and south that will take it over the Sales Hill Road intersection, and there'll be access roads on both sides of that bridge to provide access to the neighboring properties and to accommodate all of the existing traffic movements. So I still expect that there'll be a pretty substantial amount of turning action below the bridge. So there probably will be a light of some kind under the bridge. I haven't seen the finite details, and those things will only be coming together over the next year or more, I would expect, as they go through the full design. But yes, the north-south traffic in both directions will no longer have a light, and I am absolutely thrilled to see something, move forward. It's also, I think, if you recall, when we talked about this, years ago, right?
Yeah, probably.
My thought and advocacy was for the DOT to consider taking the two high-speed lanes, the north and south high-speed lanes, and dropping them below the Sales Hill Road intersection, and actually just decking over the existing grade so that those lanes could pass under, so that there would be continuous through traffic. I got an earful from the Benoit family.
I was going to ask about that.
Anchor Subaru, about that concept when I reached out to them and learned something about the automobile sales business.
They like people stopping there, don't they?
Well, they like people stopping, but most importantly,
they
need people to see the front line of cars that are on the lot.
Okay.
And my suggestion would cause a circumstance where a fair amount of the traffic that now does see the front line of cars, even though it's in the high-speed lane, would be dropped and not see the front line of cars. So this circumstance of going with a bridge over Sales Hill Road is more attractive to the auto dealers there, and so I think we're headed in the right direction.
Okay.
The other thing I was questioned this week by an individual asking, what will happen with the properties along the road. The indications that have been given to me are that all of this activity is going to take place within the existing right-of-way.
So no taking of the land?
No taking of land.
Okay.
So that is intriguing. I hope that actually, becomes the case as they go forward, and that they don't say, "Oops, we need this or that." But it certainly that area in the long run presents itself as something that should become, because of the volume of traffic, it should be less residential and more commercial in activity. It should be more business based. To have the right match of activities. But we'll see how that goes. Well, I told the folks at the kickoff meeting a week or so ago that we were certainly happy about the whole development and how for a lot of us it's a personal issue. I explained that I was in a car with my mom driving in the mid-50s. We were rear-ended at that intersection.
Wow.
As an environmental consultant, I responded to an accident to pick up automobile fluids where the wife of a childhood friend had died in a car crash, and so many of us have had those stories, those experiences, unfortunately, and so it's really it's great news to know that they're going to go forward. I express that thanks to the federal delegation in Congress that made it happen. And I followed it with a comment that if, over the past few years, I've made sure that I've tried to schedule meetings with people in government coming out of Providence to hit the traffic so that they would experience the frustration that we all catch daily.
So they can hit the backup all the way to a Majestic Honda?
Yeah, or going southbound, whichever way. Just try to make sure that they were feeling the same stress.
Yeah.
And anytime I met with folks from DOT, whether it was calling about the simplest of things, I would always go on to say, oh, by the way, since we've handled that, what about 146 and Sales Hill Road? So I need a new line.
Yeah.
And the line that I told everyone, the congressmen and senators and all the other folks that were there from DOT and the like, and the business people, that what we need now is to look at how we're going to get water to that whole 146 corridor, because water supply is an equal challenge to the next steps in that area, where yes, improving the traffic circumstance is certainly important, but many of the properties will continue to limp at best, because wells are not the best way to try to support a business that wants to serve the public, and can be a real challenge. So that's what I will be focusing on in my remaining 74 days here in office.
All right. Water is next.
Water is it. So that's what we'll talk about. And closing all comment.
When the DOT came with the plan for Sales Hill Road 146, did they just say, "Here, Gary, this is what we've come up with, and this is what we're going to do"? Or were you involved in any of the discussions?
Well, we've been involved in discussions with them over the past few years, but I won't say, go that far, Joe, that, they were asking for our stamp of approval on the design. That wasn't the case. But on the other hand, I do know that they have had one-on-one meetings with the Benoit family, who owns the Subaru and Nissan dealership there, because it is of great concern to them, not just the final design, but how the construction process will be managed. Because as you know, as well, you're experiencing it today, the disruption that work on the road in front of a business causes can be deadly to the business.
Yes.
If it happens for a long period of time. I think an example is over in Smithfield, the location in Smithfield on 104 that was box seats. When the bridge on Route 116 near 104 was closed for a period of time, that restaurant just came apart.
Yeah,
and it's struggled ever since. It was once one of the area's thriving, restaurant resources, and it struggled since then.
All right, we're going to take a break here and coffee in, so hold that question there, Bob. But Bob, what do you think? Should we name it the Gary Izoski Memorial Bridge when it goes in?
Oh, it should be Gary Izoski Bridge, but not Memorial. And Memorial means that the guy's passed away.
Oh, sorry,
Gary. We've Gary around for a long time.
All right, the Izoski Bridge. I like that.
No, thank you. And Bob, you're right. I hope to be around for a long time. Thank you.
Because it'll be funny, Gary, because all the different ways people are going to try to pronounce your last name. That's what's going to be
Took me a long time to learn it, too,
All right, time for the weather forecast here on ON, and it's being sponsored by CVS. And today, partly sunny this morning, increasing clouds this afternoon, warmer than yesterday, high near 79. Tonight, cloudy skies, slight chance of some showers, low temperature around 53. Friday, a mostly cloudy day with a slight chance of showers as well, high near 60. Friday night, partly cloudy, low around 40. Saturday, sunny, high near 62. Sunday, sunny, and a high near 60. Currently outside the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio on the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street, where we have partly cloudy skies and 62 degrees. CVS pharmacists have a tool designed to look for ways that may help lower your prescription costs. Visit CVS today. Savings vary. See store for details.
Have you heard the news? If you have both Medicaid and Medicare, United Health Dual Complete can help you. And it's no wonder, considering all the extra benefits you could get. Dual Complete includes $3,000 in dental care with $0 copay. You could also get $800 to buy health products, hearing coverage, and credits for hearing devices, vision coverage, and credits for eyewear, no-cost gym membership, and Fitbit, and much, much more. See why Rhode Islanders with Medicaid and Medicare choose United Healthcare Dual Complete. To find a plan for you, visit our website at uhccommunityplan.com and search by your zip code or call 1-844-560-4944. Plans are insured through United Healthcare Insurance Company or one of its affiliated companies, a Medicare Advantage organization with a Medicare contract and a contract with state Medicaid program. Enrollment in the plan depends on the plan's contract renewal with Medicare. Benefits, features, and or devices vary with plan and area. Limitations and exclusions apply.
Seafood. There are so many ways to prepare it. Barbecue or grilled. How about seafood with pasta or seafood stew? Seafood from Wilfred's Seafood. You can taste the freshness. Try shrimp with sugar snap peas, lemony steamed haddock or cod, halibut tacos, grilled tuna teriyaki, baked salmon in a maple syrup and soy sauce marinade. Enjoy the variety and be creative. Wilfred's Seafood on Cumberland Hill Road, Woonsocket. Open daily at 7 a.m.
Weekly specials at Wilfred's, good until September 22nd. Oven-ready casserole. Fresh fish, scallops, and shrimp with Will's Own crumb topping is $5.99 a pound. Peeled shrimp, $7.99 a pound. North Pacific cod, $5.99 a pound. And sea scallops, $13.99 a pound. This week at Wilfred's Seafood, Cumberland Hill Road, Woonsocket.
Hi, this is Don Burnell inviting you to join us on the Midday Show every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday with the Super Quiz, great oldies, and interesting guests.
Don Burnell is back Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 1 p.m.
It is Coffee In on ON, AM, and FM. This is Joe Callahan here with Bob Lauder and North Smithfield Town Administrator Gary Yazowski. And, Bob, it's time for our first message from your law office, please.
Good morning. Thank you. As COVID-19 hospitalizations continue to take place, it appears to be more and more imperative that all of us engage in some basic life planning. One of the most severe consequences of COVID-19 may be the inability of a patient to communicate to medical providers any information concerning their desires and or decisions concerning their care. The reports seem to indicate that many of the individuals stricken with the virus and needing hospitalization become comatose and cannot make any meaningful response to questions of the medical staff. Now is the time to prepare for such an event. Now is the time to prepare a power of attorney for health care purposes. This is sometimes called a health care proxy. Preparation is not difficult. The forms are available on the website of the State of Rhode Island Department of Health. The forms will ask you who you want to empower with the authority to make medical decisions if you cannot make them for yourself. What are the names of the individual and their addresses and telephone numbers? And are they agreeable to accepting this responsibility? Who do you want to make those decisions if your first choice is unavailable to the medical personnel? Once the form is completed, it should be signed either in the presence of a notary public or by two individuals who are not related to you, not employed by a health care provider, not inheriting from you. And then copies of the form should be given to your physician, individuals you have nominated, members of your family, and your agent for service. In the event you'd like to discuss this or other legal matters with me, please telephone my office for an appointment. My telephone number is 762-4550. My name is Bob Lauder. A disclaimer, the State of Rhode Island licenses all attorneys in the general practice of law. The state does not license or certify any attorney as an expert or specialist in any field of practice. Thank you.
Okay, Bob, and we got a note that was written in to coffee at OneSocketRadio.com, and basically it's to you, Bob. It just says, your example of why a testator should personally meet with a lawyer was a good one. This is why people shouldn't use online legal services like LegalZoom because they won't receive the advice of a legal professional.
That was very kind of the caller. Thank you.
Yes, all right. Not to... I don't know. I want to put Bob in a bad position here, but
oh, sure you do. Come on.
Is there any good reason to use one of those online legal preparers?
I would imagine that looking at the forms might be. It's not a bad idea because it may give you some ideas as to the kind of decisions you should be making overall.
Okay.
People frequently, when I talk with people about things like estate planning, they think, okay, well, if one of us dies, we'll leave it all to our spouse. And if our spouse has died, then it goes to the kids. Mm-hmm. And they don't think beyond that as to, okay, suppose one of the children has died and you have minor grandchildren. How old do they have to be if they're getting any of the assets? Who's going to take care of it for them until they reach the age of distribution? Stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah. All right, very good. No,
having someone prepared for you personally is better than working with yourself on forms available on the Internet.
Because they're going to ask the right questions, right?
Yeah, and to give you some guidance as to what may or may not be the responsibilities in the various states. I believe in Massachusetts you need 3 people to witness a will. In Rhode Island you only need 2. I'm not a mass lawyer, so I'm not saying that as a statement of fact, but it's a belief that I have. So you want to make sure that you've done the right things in preparing the final document.
Well, I think you're right, Bob, because my wife and I just had our wills redone in Massachusetts, and the lawyer we went to brought down 2 witnesses. to watch us sign.
The lawyer also
signed.
signed as a witness. So you had two
yes,
witnesses.
Right. That's correct. Okay. So Gary, this is what I got in mind. So about this whole redoing of the whole 146 and Sales Hill Road. Now, as it stands now, if you are coming up 146 going north and you want to go to the Rustic Drive-In, you come up to the lights at Sales Hill Road and you do a U-turn and you come back down. Now, when the bridge goes in, you won't be able to do that. So am I anticipating, is this correct? If you want to go up to the Rustic, you would need, get off onto Sales Hill Road, then come under the bridge, and then come back onto 146? Does that make sense?
Well, yes. If you could, that same stretch of road, right now there is, I think, a similar circumstance to what will exist in the future. It already exists. Near the ice arena, there's an access road that, where you can pull over to the right to go into the motel or to the ice rink, and perhaps even the paving company, Johnson Paving. That sort of circumstance will exist further north to the point that you'll be able to the highway will split there. And if you're going to make a turn of some kind, you'd stay to the right and go to Sales Hill Road, where you'd be able to make the U-turn under the bridge.
Okay, all right.
The same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing from the southbound perspective. Somewhere perhaps near the ski shop plus, the road would divide. The through traffic would go over the bridge. The local traffic would go to the right and enter businesses along the southbound side, or get to the intersection with Sales Hill, where they could go into Manville or make the U-turn to go to businesses on the other side of the highway.
Okay.
Has the department actually prepared a design or a sketch for what they want to do?
There is one, Bob. Yes, it doesn't have all of the detail, but I think we did share that sometime back on our website in the newsletter. Tom Kravitz, our planner, does a great job. Had documents showing that.
Any chance of getting that out into the publications like a newspaper, or so that?
Well, I think they did, but again, it certainly probably could be done again with perhaps even more current information. I haven't seen any updated plans. The one that we saw early on was pretty diagrammatic. I mean, it's not going to give people specific indication of what's going to happen at any property. It's conceptual.
It's just difficult for me to visualize how this is going to take place without having any further expansion of the highway right-of-way.
Well, I think the access roads will probably creep under the elevated roadway. That, in my mind, is what has to happen.
Interesting to see it. Good.
Well, Bob, you'll look forward to seeing it when it does come out in the paper, so you can get the whole visual thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because as my wife will tell you very carefully, I am not good at envisioning things like home improvement. The concept that I have when someone says something should be changed usually is nowhere near the results that the individual making the suggestions is envisioning.
So when she says... Go ahead, Gary.
Is that because you don't want to do them, or is it...
Whoa! Well, yeah, that's true, too.
Or are you along the way, kind of like me, and they said, "Oh, sure, this will fit in here," and I'm like, "I don't think so."
Yeah, there you go.
and then it fits. I don't.
Well, Gary's response was a little bit more accurate. Yeah.
Well, that's because Gary's the engineer, and the whole thing of, what do you mean it's not going to fit? Of course it is. Look at it. Of course it'll fit. That's why I'm not an engineer, Gary.
My idea of kitchen remodeling is you put up a new calendar. That's it.
Once a year and you're done,
yeah.
right?
Right.
All right. So Gary, has DOT given you any an ETA on when this might begin and when it might finish?
No, I guess I'll have to follow up with some questions for them and maybe see if there's more updated plans that would allow them to give us more detail from both a schedule standpoint as well as a design. Let me see what I can do.
Okay. Because that's always the next thing people like to know is, well, great, this is going to start, but when is it going to start, and when are the headaches going to begin, and when will the headaches come to an end? So,
someone rude could suggest that this is probably on the same timeline as the president's new health care plan.
So where do you really stand on it, Bob? All right. Well, as long as we're not using the same people that are looking into how contaminated soil ended up on the 610 connector project in Providence. Isn't that odd? The DOT announced yesterday that it ordered the removal of a soil pile that featured samples containing higher than allowed contaminant levels. The contractor, Massachusetts-based Barletta Construction, was also directed not to bring any more soil to the site from other remediation projects. So they're just it sounds like they're just bringing in the soil and dumping it there.
That's what sounded like.
They'll never notice a little extra pile of dirt.
Well, I doubt that it was quite that. It's simply there are areas on the site that have to be filled, and fill material is to my understanding, in construction projects today is needs to be evaluated. There sometimes can be issues as to what is what the standards are in different locations. Massachusetts versus Rhode Island. I'm not trying to defend anybody, but it certainly is a disappointing circumstance to come out. But it's going to be interesting to see how that all unfolds. But yeah, it's apparently they've acted to say it's coming out.
Bob, do you think there's because you're the lawyer, any lawsuits going to come out of this?
I would imagine if the construction company remediates the situation and removes the contaminated soil, that it's probably not going to result in litigation. But if they leave it there, and of course the removal and replacement of it is going to cost money, but that's probably included in the contract. I would expect the state would be saying, you did this on your own, and therefore that's your cost and not something we're going to be including in the price of the contract. Yeah.
Okay, and like Gary says, we'll see what comes of this one. All right, it's time to.
I like Gary's answer though, because I was just thinking, where in the world did they get contaminated soil, and how did this happen? But if they have different standards in different states, although they should know the standards, that makes it more reasonable. Yeah.
But maybe it's someone trying to get away with something, trying to pull a fast one.
No, not in Rhode Island.
Or
not just Rhode Island. It happens.
Or possibly Massachusetts.
Rhode Island.
All right. We're going to take another break here in the Coffee and Program. Bob, time for a second message from your law office, please.
Thank you. A few minutes ago, I spoke with you about powers of attorney for medical purposes. The concept of powers of attorney is sometimes confusing. Recently, an individual told me they did not worry about what would happen to their assets after their death because they'd given an adult child power of attorney. The individual imagined that this would grant to the child the authority to collect and disperse all of the assets after their death. Please understand that while a power of attorney can be a powerful instrument and can grant to someone else extraordinary power over your assets, that power does not extend after your death. Powers of attorney become null and void on the death of the grantor. Should you possess assets in your name alone at the time of your death, whether that's bank accounts or real estate, in the absence of a well-crafted last will and testament, your assets will be distributed in accordance with the laws of intestacy of the state in which you reside. Although a few minutes ago I suggested you could secure health care powers of attorney off the Department of Health website on the Internet, I do not suggest that anyone rely on the Internet for forms to create a last will and testament. Surprise. Until a few weeks ago, I used to illustrate this point by suggesting that none of us want to cut their own hair. Rather would have it done by a professional. Probably during this COVID-19 crisis, we're reflecting on the true value of those professionals when we stare into the mirror each morning. that daughter. It's an interesting result. In the event you think my office may be of assistance to you in this or other legal matters, please call me for a telephone conference. My name is Bob Lauder. My telephone number is 762-4-550. And the disclaimer, the Supreme Court of Rhode Island licenses all attorneys in the general practice of law. The court does not license to certify any attorney as an expert or specialist in any field of practice. Thank you.
Bob, are you saying your daughter is not doing a good job cutting your hair?
She did a very good job cutting my hair.
Okay.
It's just, it's not exactly mow out of the street, but it's not necessarily the way I used to wear it.
You got to get it cut like mine.
Well, yeah, but man, you have a nice buzz cut on there, and
yeah.
The last time I had a cut like that, I was in the military, and it wasn't that satisfying.
You don't want to go back to those days?
Not really. No.
Don't you think Bob should get that, Gary?
Gary's being smart. He's not saying a word.
All right. Well, you can stay with what you got, okay, Bob?
Thank you.
I'm sure she did a fine job.
Actually, I've gotten back to the real professional who's done a great job in fixing up the other work.
All right, good. All right, more Coffee Ann is coming your way. We ask you to please stick around.
I'm here with Kara Benjamin of the Benjamin Insurance Agency. What types of insurance do you provide?
If you come see me, Kara, I will help you review and protect the most important assets in your life. We offer protection for personal lines and business lines of insurance in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. My mother, Celeste, will help you plan for retirement and assist you with protecting your family by providing life insurance.
You're in good hands with Allstate and Kara and Celeste Benjamin of the Benjamin Insurance Agency, 125 Eddie Dowling Highway, across from Dowling Village in North Smithfield, 765-5000.
Our business is truly a referral business, and we have built it based on our premier service level and commitment to what we do. If you are looking for personalized service with people who care, that would be us.
The Baroaster House restaurant on Pond Street in Woonsocket is open for takeout and delivery of any dish on their menu. All you have to do is call them at 762-1717. Tell them if you'll pick it up or if you want it delivered. You have a choice. The Baroaster House is open 7 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday from 4 to 8, Thursday 4 to 9, and Friday and Saturday 3 to 9, Sundays noon to 8. You don't have to miss your favorite Baroaster House meal. Order takeout or delivery at 762-1717. That's 762-1717. The Baroaster House.
Hi, this is Cindy Bradley.
And I am Dave Koz, inviting you to tune in this weekend as trumpeter Cindy Bradley takes her place in our studio guest chair. You won't want to miss it. Fantastic music and conversation. Remember to visit davekoz.com and be here this weekend. Cindy Bradley and yours truly on the Dave Koz Radio Show.
If you're a fan of smooth jazz, I invite you to listen in to the Dave Koz Radio Show only on ON, AM and FM, 1240 AM, 99.5 FM every Sunday. Twice on Sundays, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m., and again 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. The Dave Koz Radio Show is brought to you by the Carew Investment Group. It's the Dave Koz Radio Show on Sundays right here on
ON, AM and FM.
You can depend on us for public service. ON Radio.
It is Coffee Ann on ON. Thanks for joining us this morning. Joe Callahan here, along with Bob Lauder and North Smithfield Town Administrator Gary Izoski. Both are on the phone right now. So, Bob, we do have a political question for you. You want politics, so this was written in, and just your thoughts, please. The writer says, I would think that the main reason President Trump now is influencing the GOP and close to signing an executive order for another stimulus package is political. It certainly would enhance voters to sway to his way and would shoot down the Democrats with their original proposal. Okay.
I would think that any stimulus package is going to be political, no matter which side is the one who's championing the particular package signed by the president, because it's necessary for the country, but at the same time in our political climate, probably in our political climate ever since the beginning of the country, one party is going to be claiming that they had victory in securing this particular benefit for the population.
Mm-hmm.
So I would expect it's going to be political, whichever side it is. I was listening yesterday, I think it was to CNN while I was driving back from a meeting, and there was a Democratic senator who was talking about a compromise plan that he and other people in the Senate had been trying to put together, and they were Republicans on the group as well. I'm sorry, it wasn't the Senate, it was the House. Mm-hmm. And apparently 25 Republicans, 25 Democrats, or thereabouts, in the House had come up with a compromise plan that he was hoping would be considered by the both major parties in full. So there's possibilities of working things out. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly what is going to happen between now and the election. I would expect that the president would certainly like to have some kind of further praise for working on the COVID crisis, and a stimulus package would do that.
Okay.
I don't know if it would take the wind out of the Democrats' sails entirely. I think the Democrats have a lot of various items that they can champion that they say they can do better than the president's administration.
What do you think, Gary, on the will we get another stimulus package before Election Day?
I really don't think so.
No.
I think
okay.
And even after, this whole national political scenario is just turning out to be one freeze after another. I don't see what's going to change it. If we have a change in control after the election, it's going to be the other side, trying to stop, for the next 2 years, the initiative of the entity that just got control. It's really just sad. I've expressed that in some communication with the delegation where I can, and it's just it's really unfortunate. On the other hand, I've also said to people that they are us. We like to think that they're different from though their thinking is different than ours, but we reach it's really just a sad commentary as to our societal development as a country. Not that I'm any sociologist, but it's hard to see how this moves toward a better place. I just see us always now in this vengeful, spiteful action after action.
Yeah.
And it just keeps shifting. It's politics at its worst, in my view.
Okay, Bob, I got another. I need another opinion from you on this specific law item here. Ready?
Yeah.
You've heard of Chuck E. Cheese?
Yeah.
Place where the kids go get birthday parties and like that. Okay. Now,
haven't been to one, but yeah,
well,
I understand the concept.
You can't go in without a child. I don't know if you realize that.
Oh.
But anyway,
okay.
The Chuck E. Cheese, their parent company, they filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in June.
All right.
Because of the pandemic, no one was having kids' parties. And they just kind of ran out of money. So the Chuck E. Cheese parent company is looking to destroy about 7 billion prize tickets. So what you did at Chuck E. Cheese, if you played the games there, if you did well, you got a bunch of tickets, and then you could redeem the tickets for certain prizes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now that you got all that. Now, CEC Entertainment, they're the parent company of Chuck E. Cheese, they asked a court on Monday for just over $2 million to shred the tickets which piled up in its supply chain amid the coronavirus pandemic. The tickets that are exchanged for prizes are said to be worth $9 million in merchandise.
Wow.
CEC Chief Financial Officer James A. Howell said the tickets need to be destroyed before going to the general public because they are redeemable for, quote, significantly higher value than the cost of prize tickets, unquote. A court hearing is scheduled for next week on the matter. Do you think they'll allow them to destroy these tickets?
Well, the tickets probably represent a obligation and debt of the corporation. And when you're going into a Chapter 11, what you're basically trying to say to the bankruptcy court is, okay, we have assets, we have liabilities. We cannot meet all of our liabilities, but we would like to have the court allow us to discharge some of these liabilities and come up with a restructuring plan so that we can meet other financial responsibilities without having to liquidate the entire company, sell off all the assets, and go completely out of business.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, they're probably saying, okay, we have $9 million that we potentially owe to the holders of these tickets, and we don't have the money to pay off the $9 million. We're looking for relief on either discharging all of those debts and not having to pay any of them, or you were saying something about a $2 million amount. They may be thinking, well, we will reduce that debt down to $2 million instead of each ticket being able to redeem itself for a $2.50 gift. They can only redeem themselves for a 75-cent gift or something along those lines.
Well, the company's looking to shred these tickets so they don't somehow end up in the hands of the public. So they're looking for the court to say, okay, go ahead and shred them.
All right. That is a little bit more difficult for me to understand, because if you're holding the tickets which have not been issued to customers, until the tickets are issued, they don't have a redeemable value to the customer, and therefore it's not an outstanding obligation debt. And if it is a ticket that would have a potential of having value to a customer, I don't consider that to be an asset. I'm not exactly sure where they're coming from in trying to shred the tickets that they may have still remaining in their treasury.
Yeah.
Because it's not like shares of stock which may have a par value. I would think the tickets really don't have much value at all until they're actually handed to the customer.
These are the important things the bankruptcy court has to challenge themselves with every now and then, Bob. Whether or not we need to shred Chuck E. Cheese tickets. It's important stuff there. All right, as we come to the end of the program, one more question for Gary. Gary, have they started renting the apartments at Darling Village, or are they still working on them over there?
Oh, no, they have started the rental process, and I believe that several are occupied.
Oh, people are already living there?
Yes, sir.
All right, great.
Yep.
So, well, that's good news, and everything else all right over there at Darling Village, as far as you're aware of?
As best I know, yes. I think it serves the area well. One of the things that staggered me recently is I learned that the Walmart traffic. Either of you have any guess as to how many people go in and out of Walmart every day?
On a daily basis?
No idea.
Let me take a guess. 10,000.
It is on the order of 10 to 11,000.
So close, Bob.
Average per day.
Wow.
So
yeah, I guess Darling Village is serving the region
quite well, huh?
Quite well, I think.
Yeah. All right, fantastic. So thanks for, we got to wrap things up. So we thank you very much for listening in, everyone. And Bob Lauder, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Hope to be with you next week.
Very good. And North Smithfield Town Administrator Gary Ozoski, thanks for joining us and talking Sales Hill Road, new interchange coming at some point.
Always a pleasure, gentlemen. Be well.
And only 74 more days? Jeez, man.
That's it.
It's going to go
You're
quick.
not counting down or anything.
No, not at all.
No, he's not putting up a new calendar, Bob.
We're going to miss you, man.
No renovations.
No renovations. That's right. All right. Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll talk to you next. Bob will talk to you next week, and Gary will talk to you next month.
Look forward to it. Be well.
All right. This is Joe Callahan.